The camera is keep switching off on me for some reason, but I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep talking about it because it's my way of healing, and as far as I know, it's not a crime to be alive and tell your truth. And I am. It's been the hardest thing to do, to talk about my little girl. But that's the healing process. It's very hard because you feel everything that you feel back then. You're going through it again. So kept me quiet for a few days because I've been feeling everything that I've been feeling back then. I felt helpless, and I felt it again because I couldn't protect my little baby. And when I was ready to take her home, because I found a life partner and he wanted to marry me, so that was the whole point, to find somebody to marry as fast as I could so I could take my little girl home. But as he proposed to me, the person that I am with today, as he proposed to me, I told him I have a little girl and I wouldn't marry him only if he accepted my little baby. So he said yes. So we both went to the institution where she's supposed to be, and she wasn't there anymore. So as I said, I went to the capital police of Romania in Bucharest, and made a statement, and they promised me they're gonna get her back. So yeah, very powerful police people. As it turned out, they couldn't, because the parliament people give it away, they sign it out. That's what he said to me, that's what I'm telling. And he said he had no power and he put his head down. So that was that. So if he had no power to fight these people, I couldn't fight them either. So I carry on living, hoping that one day when she grows up and these fair parents that she's supposed to have, telling her where she's coming from and that she's been stolen, that telling her that her parents, her real parents, never gave her away, telling her the truth, and she would hopefully look for her natural parents, but it never happened. And to tell the truth, mothers have connections to their children no matter what. And I always felt, ever since she's been stolen, that something really bad has happened to her. I always had that feeling, because nobody steals a child with good intention. That's my belief. Why would you steal a child and have good intention? I don't think so. So life carried on. I went on with my life, carried on with the partner that I have now. So he was a truck driver, I met him through my cousins, like very, not first cousin or second cousin, like third cousin or something, fourth cousin or seventh cousin or something like that. The name was Leila and Nicoletta. And before I got to know Philip, because I ran from my village, being chased all the time and beaten and chased, and never had a good day, to be honest, very rare. So when they took me from my house, they come and basically took me from the house. I ran away, and I ended up with some faraway relatives in Bucharest. And this Leila and Nicoletta, they said they're gonna help me, but the help I received was Nicoletta selling me to these people that I never seen in my life. They take me to a restaurant, and I was a minor with a very naive mind, and she sent me outside for something, and this very big, humongous, tall man grabbed me, put me on his shoulder, and he ran with me. He took me to a house where he gave me an option. He asked me to marry some other person that was there, or they're gonna take me with them. I didn't know what that meant at that time, and I started crying and pleading with them. I didn't want to get married. I was just a child. I didn't want to get married. So because I didn't want to get married, the punishment was they're gonna sell me to another people. But first, they decided to break me. So they put me in a room with some girls, and they said they're gonna sell me to people. So when I had a chance, I tried to run. I tried to run away, but they catch me, and they beat me violently. Both of these very big men, they beat me violently, very violently, both of them. They took turns in raping me, both of them, and they beat me so severely that you wouldn't find a place to put your finger on my body where I didn't have a bruise. And after they beat me to death, they tied me to a bed. They tied my leg to a bed so I wouldn't run away. I refused to eat. That was the only thing I could do, because that wasn't the way I wanted to live my life. No girl in the world wants to live like that. So the only thing I could do was to refuse to eat. So when I refused eating, I got another severe beating because they said I'm gonna get him in trouble. So they severely beat me again to make me eat. And because I was such a difficult person, I didn't went along with them easily as they wanted to. I was always tied to a bed. And one day, this man, came along. He was a very tall man with blonde hair, with a big scar on his face. He was looking for girls. And he asked him what girls he has, and he showed him two girls, and he didn't want them. He said he don't like them or something. They wasn't good enough or something. And he said, he asked him, the man that he had asked, he asked him, do you have any other girls? And he said no. He said, no, I don't. And I don't know, for some reason, this man, he didn't believe him. So when I was in a room, all of a sudden, the door flipped, like, boom, really hard, because he opened it with his foot, he punched it with his foot, and he opened wide. And he saw me tied to the bed, and he said, I'll take this one. So that man said first no, but he couldn't refuse him apparently, because he was somebody that they feared him somehow. These really violent people, they feared this man. So they sold me to him. I've seen him counting the money and give it to this person that had me. He took me in a white van and he said he's gonna take me to a person, Muslim, Arab, some person. And he did. He took me to this person's house somewhere in Bucharest, and he said to me, he said to me to take a shower, prepare for him to, do the sexual thing. But after I had a shower, I said to him if I can ask him if I can go and make a phone call. And he did. He let me. He said, okay, you can go and make a phone call. But I ran. I ran again. So I went back to the only people that I knew. And that was the girls that I told you about, Leila and Nicoleta, my cousins. And I told Leila what Nicoleta done to me, her sister. She was angry with her. They had words and, said she shouldn't do that to me and everything like that. And because I told on Nicoleta, her boyfriend, who was another very violent man, he raped me violently. He raped me, and he threatened me like really bad. If I'm gonna, not behave, he's gonna do do it to me all the time, and he's gonna beat me up and all this stuff. So the way things was going, I just didn't understand why life is so hard and tough, and I get in all this trouble all the time, and why everybody was preying on me all the time. And I kind of like had a boyfriend just to keep safe. He was a Muslim person. He used to bring me flowers when he came by, because he rented a place for me to live in, and I stay there, away from people, just trying to be safe. And in this time, I met Philip. And I thought he was the kindest person in the whole wide world, because he didn't want to touch me like everybody else, like grabbing me and touch me. He was actually kind and talking to me and behaving like a human being. So when the time came, like I told you, when the time came for him to propose to me, to get married to him, like I said, I told them about my little girl, but it was too late. So then after I met Philip, I went out with him for about a year, and in the end he wanted to bring me to England. So that was in 1997 when I first come to England. I didn't want to come. I just had a feeling that it's not a good idea. It took about 6 months for me to make my mind up to come to England, because something just telling me to hold back and not come to England. But in the end, I gave up, and I agree to come to England, to live here in England with Philip. So in 1997, I came to England, and I don't remember where he used to live, but he wasn't here anyway, where we live now. We lived in quite a few places. I'm gonna go through it. And for the first time in my life, I felt safe and careful, and I felt like a human being. So because he was a international truck driver, I went with him everywhere. Everywhere he went, I went. We've been to a lot of countries, and I've been in a truck for a long time with him, which I'm gonna go through the memories with you. We come England, Romania. At that time, he used to go England, Romania all the time. And at that point in time, there used to be borders everywhere, not like now. And the queues at the borders was just unbelievable. It was so long, like kilometers and kilometers of trucks waiting to do the Rama. It was hard at the borders because some police people give you a really hard time, like a really hard time, talking sexual, picking on your race. I used to cry a lot, because they were so rude and picking on race and stuff like that. I used to cry at the beginning. I used to get upset, very upset, and anticipating what's coming when we got near especially the Romanian border. And in time I toughened up, and I didn't cry anymore. So when they used to pick on me and, about race or whatever they find funny, I used to answer them back. And they didn't like that. They could dish it out, but they couldn't take it. As soon as you answered them back to the bullies, they didn't like it. That was very tough. The borders was a tough thing because I always used to be with men, loads and loads and loads of men, and I was the only woman. It took a while to get used to it. It took a while, a very long time to get used to it. But I felt safe. I felt safe with Philip, and I didn't want to be apart from him, like staying home. I didn't want to stay home by myself. I just wanted to be with him no matter what. And so I went through all the manly stuff, like truck driver stuff. And at one point in time, he worked for a firm called Falcon Gates, and they sent us to Turkey. And Turkey was like a difficult place for me again because everybody used to touch me. Like whenever I went out, they just like touch my hair or my clothes or my back or something, or they touch my hands, pull my hands, and wherever we seen police in Turkey, I used to hide under the bed. I remember Philip panicking like really bad and tell me, hide, 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 when we used to see police. And I always used to hide in Turkey under the bed when we seen police. And we had a good reason. It wasn't for nothing, because they had the power, and if they say, give me your wife with a gun in your head, what could you do? So the last time I went to Turkey was when at the border this policeman took his gun out, pointed it to our heads, and said to Philip, he was really drunk like this. He was swinging like really drunk. And at any point, you would think such a drunk person with a gun in his hand, he just by mistake would just push the trigger, And he said to Philip, give me a wife, like this. And he was a colleague with him there, luckily. And he pulled him off and said, said to us like this behind his back to just carry on. We didn't even do the Gama anymore. They just tell us to go. So that was the last time for me when I went to Turkey, because it got too frightening, like very real frightening. And so I refused to go to Turkey. I didn't want to go to Turkey anymore. So I stayed behind. Every time we went to Turkey, I stayed behind in Romania with some relatives, like I said, because I just we couldn't do it. Philip couldn't do it because, like I said, he was frightened of the police. They're gonna do something, and he couldn't do nothing. He couldn't argue with the police, so it was safer for both of us for me to stay behind in Romania. He would pick me up when he come back from Turkey. He would pick me up and then carry on back to England. But sorry. But yeah, that was the last time. And because of that reason, that because I had to hide from everybody, I couldn't be with him all the time, and I had to stay behind. And I didn't like that, because I wanted to be with him all the time. I hated being left behind, but that was the only thing we could do. So Turkey lasted for a long time. I think I don't remember the years exactly. They used to go to Turkey working for this firm, Falcon Gate. It was a few years anyway. And after a while, he stopped going to Turkey. This firm stopped going to Turkey, and we've done After Turkey, I think it was Morocco, Spain, Morocco. I remember I used to go with him to Morocco. Morocco was a difficult country again, and kind of like because I look how I look, kind of look like the locals. I could blend in there, and the locals really thought I was Moroccan. They were speaking to me in the language, and I used to get frustrated because I didn't understand why they keep speaking to me in Moroccan, because I wasn't. And I used to tell them I'm not, and I don't understand them, and they used to have this reaction to me like I'm lying, that I am Moroccan, and I'm lying that I'm not. And they used to ask to see my passport. Normal, everyday people didn't believe me I wasn't Moroccan. They used to ask for my ID to see whether I'm lying, because they used to say I'm lying. And it was this kind of like hate towards me because they thought I am Moroccan and I am with a white person. That was a problem for them. So they used to throw stones at me. I remember the stones going past my head, and I was frightened again. And people getting like really angry with me because I'm with a white person, even though I wasn't Moroccan. So one time when we went to Morocco, as we went out of the country and doing customs, they take your passports and, looking at them and all that. They took my passport and Philip's passport, and the next thing we know, we wait for 3 hours, and we was getting restless. I was getting like all these questions in my head. Why they keep my passport for such a long time? And I was frightened that they weren't gonna let me out of the country because they think I have a false passport and that I'm not Romanian and I'm Moroccan or something. And I thought even the police think that, and they're not gonna let me go out of the country because I never know somebody keeping your passport for 3 hours. All the time I've been traveling through all these countries, through all the Europe, nobody ever done that. No country ever done that. And in the end, after about 3 hours, they come back with our passports and they let us go. And I said to Philip, that's the last time I'm gonna I'll go with him. I didn't want to go anymore to Morocco, so I had to stay behind in England because he still done the same job, and we was living in Liverpool at that point in time. And sometimes I used to hear knocks on the door, and I used to go to the door when Philip was gone in Morocco. I was by myself, I used to go to the door, open the door, nobody was there. That happened a few times. I used to tell Philip, call him and say somebody's knocking and nobody's there. And he just said, no, don't open the door, And I didn't. And that was a hard time for me because I wanted to be with him. I wanted to go with him everywhere. But because of the circumstances which happen in some countries, I couldn't, so I had to stay behind, which I find it very hard at that point in time. So after Morocco, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was Ireland. I don't remember exactly. I think it was Ireland. No. After Morocco, we got married. After 5 years being together, we got married with a, properly with papers. And we used to live in Liverpool, and he gave up the international job because I couldn't go with him, and he found a local job in Liverpool, but the money wasn't good, and he was looking for a better job. And in that time, we used to know truck driver called Marmite. We used to call him Marmite, and his wife was Romanian. We used to go and visit him loads of times. And Marmite, called Philip to London because it was better jobs. And we did. We moved to a place called, I don't remember the name. Well, first we lived for a while with Mark in his apartment, and he had some Irish friends. Remember Billy, a little tiny person, and another few truck drivers that I used to know, Sean, and they all had Romanian wives. And we lived together in this house, in Mark's house, Marmite house, because they all needed jobs at that time, and they all working for this Rakota, which he had milk and butter, business, transporting milk and butter. And Philip was working for this man. They all did, working for this Rakota man. And after a while we moved out of Marmite's place into a village called Wormley. And one night I was in bed sleeping, trying to sleep, and my sister come to visit me at that point in time, and she was with Philip in a lounge. I don't know what they was doing, something there, but very quietly. They was looking on their phones or whatever, and all of a sudden I heard a voice, the unfamiliar voice talking in a house. And I jumped out of bed, and there was this man in a house saying that he's looking for somebody that raped his sister. And I started pushing him away, pushing him towards the door to go away. I said, nobody's there that he's looking for. He has the wrong house, the wrong place. And he kept on, like, somebody raped his sister, and some people sent them to our house because they said the rapist is there in our house. And he described them. He had loads of hair and all of this stuff. And I said to him, look at Philip, he's bald, he doesn't have any hair, so there you go, problem solved. There's no rapist here. So I pushed him out towards the door, because I was scared that he's gonna do something to Philip, like attack him or something, and I kept pushing him out. And in the end he went, he went. But that was like very scary. Like, I didn't expect to wake up with some man in the house, that was scary. And we wanted to move from there. Well, I did. I didn't want to live there anymore. We lived above a kebab place, and I didn't want to live there anymore. And as it happens, he was looking for a place, and Rakota's daughter had an apartment in Hoddesdon, and she said she would rent the apartment to Philip, and she did. But before that, I forgot to tell you, before we lived in Wormley, we used to live in a caravan on a farmer's land, and that was the most beautiful place that I lived in England, and the safest place, because this farmer was a really good person. He wouldn't let nobody come through that gate, no one. He had his gun, with permit, and when somebody wanted to come in by force, he would not let them. I've seen that with my own eyes. I look up to this farmer. He was a good man, a very good man. I felt very safe on his property because nobody could come in there. And it was a beautiful place, the most beautiful place I lived in England. And then from there we moved to Wormley, and then from Wormley to Hoddesdon. And then strange things start to happen. Very, very strange things, which I'm going to talk about today, because